A city ignored every warning, choosing darkness over light, until the sky itself brought a justice that would never be forgotten. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're zooming out to look at a narrative that spans literally the entirety of human existence. It's this timeless, repeating cycle of history. Divine guidance sent down from above, human deviation driven by pride, and the ultimate, inevitable arrival of justice. When you look at the source material charting the history of the prophets, this fascinating, dramatic pattern emerges right away. It's an epic battle between humble submission to the Creator and the destructive forces of arrogance. So let's dive right into this.
To really grasp this cycle, we have to start at the absolute beginning, with the very first warning from Allah to Adam. Do not go near this tree, or you will be among the wrongdoers. That one line sets the ultimate stakes. On one side, you've got obedience and a direct connection to the Creator. On the other side, the very first instance of arrogance, introduced by Iblis, Satan, who completely refused to bow out of sheer jealousy. And that single moment of pride really set the stage for the rest of human history. To make sense of this massive historical timeline, we've organized our journey today into 6 distinct parts. 1. The pillars of belief. 2. The rise of idolatry. 3. Noah and the Ark. 4. Ibrahim seeks the truth. 5. Musa versus the Pharaoh. And finally, 6. The eternal prophetic legacy. Starting with Section 1, the pillars of belief, the foundation of Iman. Before we get deep into the historical narratives, we really need to understand why prophethood is such a core, non-negotiable component of this entire worldview. The foundational Islamic beliefs, known as the pillars of Iman, basically map out the whole system. Notice that essential link right in the middle, belief in the prophets and their books. The sources emphasize that Allah doesn't just speak to every single individual directly. Instead, He chooses specific people, prophets, from among humanity to deliver His message. They are the essential link, the messengers sent to connect the creation directly back to the Creator, bringing guidance and ultimately good counsel. Moving on to Section 2, the rise of idolatry, or Satan's trick. So if humanity started as one united community under Allah, how did things go so wrong? Well, the psychology of deviation is honestly fascinating. Satan didn't just tell people to go worship rocks overnight. That wouldn't have worked at all. Instead, driven by his original envy of Adam, he used a much cleverer approach. There were these pious, holy men whom the people deeply loved and respected. When they died, Satan just casually suggested, hey, why not build statues to remember them and find blessings through them? But over generations, that original innocent purpose was totally forgotten. Sons watched their fathers revere these statues, and soon enough, they were prostrating to them, sacrificing to them, turning them into literal idols. A completely unified community was fractured by this slow, calculated deception. Because of this deviation, a whole chronological succession of messengers was required to constantly course-correct humanity. Across different ancient eras, whenever corruption and idolatry peaked, a prophet was sent. Nuh to his people, Hud to the Ad, Saleh to the Thamud, Ibrahim to his idol-worshipping city, and Musa to the Israelites in Egypt. Every single one faced a unique society, but the core conflict, it was always exactly the same. Let's move to our first major case study. Section 3. Noah and the Ark, the first great flood. The contrast here is just stark. Prophet Noah brings this vital message of humility and justice, reminding the people that their Creator provided absolutely everything for them. But the wealthy, proud leaders of his time, they were completely blinded by their status. They scoffed at him. They were like, "You're just a poor man. You're just a mortal like us. If God wanted to send a message, He would have sent angels." They put all their trust in their wealth and openly mocked His humility. And here is the question we really have to pause and think about. How did they react over time? Because Nuh didn't just preach for a week or a year or a decade. The sources tell us he called his people day and night for 950 years. And despite that relentless, almost unimaginable patience, they stubbornly refused. They made fun of him, they threatened him, they even started physically hurting the believers. The arrogance had reached an absolute point of no return. The consequences of this arrogance were absolute. Allah commands Nuh to build a giant ark. Imagine the scene for a second. Nuh is out there building a massive boat on completely dry land. The disbelievers thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But then, the skies turned dark. Heavy rains poured down, and water gushed up right out of the earth. The flood was so incredibly severe that even the highest mountains couldn't provide any safety. There's this tragic detail from the source where Nuh's own son stubbornly climbs a mountain thinking he'll be safe, but he too drowns. The arrogant were literally washed away, while the patient believers on the ark were saved. From the waters of the flood, we shift to section 4. Ibrahim seeks the truth, breaking the idols. Ibrahim's story is an absolute masterclass in using pure logic to shatter the arrogance of idol worship. He grew up in a city of idols. His own father, Azar, was actually a famous idol seller. But Ibrahim was brilliant. Step 1. He looks at the idols and realizes, okay, they are just stone. They can't speak, they can't hear, help, or harm anyone. Step 2. He looks up to the heavens. He sees a star, but it fades. He sees the moon, but it sets. He sees the mighty sun, but even that disappears at night. So step 3. He reaches this profound conclusion. He realizes that the true Lord must be eternal. The fading stars and sun are weak. Only the Almighty Creator, whose light never dims, is actually worthy of worship. So fully realizing that fading stars and moons cannot be the true creator, Ibrahim takes this ironclad logic and challenges his people, his father, and even a tyrannical king. He basically asks them, why are you worshiping things that can't even defend themselves? And his people's response? Pure, violent arrogance. They threw him into a massive, raging fire. But the sources tell us Allah commanded the fire to be coolness and safety for Ibrahim. The truth survived untouched, and the arrogance of his people was left in ashes. Which brings us to section 5, Musa versus the Pharaoh, the ultimate arrogance. Here we encounter the absolute pinnacle of human hubris. Pharaoh's own words reveal a terrifying level of delusion. He declared, I only let you see what I myself see, and I only guide you on the path of guidance. Guys, this isn't just political tyranny anymore. This is a literal delusion of absolute godhood. Pharaoh had enslaved the Israelites, slaughtered their children, and truly believed that he controlled reality itself. He thought his vast kingdom, his massive armies, and the life-giving Nile River made him completely untouchable. So when Musa arrives on the scene, fully supported by these huge divine miracles, we have to ask, how does a ruler who genuinely thinks he is a god react when his ultimate power is directly challenged? Does he humble himself? Does he recognize the truth? Not at all. No way. He completely doubles down. Allah sent distinct, undeniable signs to warn Pharaoh and his people. We're talking a devastating flood, swarms of locusts destroying their crops, plagues of lice, invasions of frogs right in their homes, and their precious drinking water literally turning to blood. And what's truly astonishing here is the psychological loop they got stuck in. The source notes that every single time a plague hit, they would beg Musa to pray to his Lord to lift it, promising to let the Israelites go. But the absolute second the plague was gone, they broke their promise. Their pride simply wouldn't let them submit, which ultimately led to their total destruction in the sea. Finally, section 6, the eternal prophetic legacy. Lessons for today. These aren't just ancient historical events, they're the ultimate blueprint of human behavior. Think about the story of Prophet Lot in the cities of the plain. They lived in this lush, green valley of thriving trade, but beneath the surface, there was a deep, growing rot. The people had completely abandoned all sense of morality and shame. Lot stood alone against this tide of corruption, begging them to turn back to purity. But the leaders, they just sneered and threatened to drive him out, specifically because he wanted to be pure. Then, 3 radiant guests, angels of Allah, arrive at Lot's house. The city mob actually surrounds the place, demanding he hand them over. In that terrifying tension, the angels tell Lot not to fear, commanding him to escape into the dead of night. By dawn, a terrifying blast shook the earth, turning the city upside down and raining stones of baked clay from the sky. The lesson is constant. Despite clear warnings, arrogant, corrupted nations face certain destruction, while the patient believers find ultimate deliverance. The choice we are left with is crystal clear. The message of all these prophets is a timeless legacy, actively calling us away from worldly corruption, wealth hoarding, and self-worship, and pointing us toward true, sincere faith. It's a powerful call to recognize that no matter how incredibly advanced our civilizations become, we are still, at the end of the day, completely dependent on our Creator. And that leaves us with this final, provocative thought. We look back at Pharaoh, at news people, at the ruined cities of the plain, and we wonder,
Man, how could they be so blind? But the real question you got to ask yourself is this. Are we actually taking heed of these ancient lessons today, or is our modern society just inventing shiny new ways to repeat the exact same arrogance of the past? Think about that as you reflect on the incredible legacy of the prophets. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning, keep learning.